So recently I was asked a few very interesting questions about meditation and how it develops and how it works and why it works for somebody and not another person, or if it affects and touches someone more deeply than another person and why does that happen? And so I just wanted to hop on a quick video today to share certain insights that I think will bring great clarity into your meditation practice and how you look at this. So, uh, just pardon with me. I'm actually making this from my bedroom right now. I'm in the middle of moving, so I don't have access to my studio. So if the audio quality isn't perfect, just bear with me, okay? I'll soon be in my new place and everything will go back to normal. So the first thing I wanted to share is the example that Sri Ramana Maharishi used to give. He used to refer to this whole thing. He used to say there are three types of people. One are like, the first are like gunpowder. The moment they hear the teaching, the moment they hear of the truth or something pointing to the truth, automatically there's some deeper realization and they're touched deeply or they may have some sort of revelation or powerful understanding. Whereas the second group of people, they are like coal. Coal needs to be heated for quite some time to really get going. So there needs to be a developing practice. There needs to be a practicing of the principles of the teaching, having faith in the teaching, meditating, ruminating on these, dwelling inside of these concepts and really learning to now live the understanding, right? So that is the whole process that ensues. And that is like that coal lighting up until it really gets going. And then there's a third group of people who are like the wet coal. Wet coal doesn't light so easily. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of energy to get going. So that's the third group of people who have to they practice a lot or they go through years and years of spiritual practice and sometimes some it feels like, oh, this still hasn't touched me as deeply as someone else who maybe just started meditating a week ago or a year ago. So why is that? So Sri Ramana Maharishi used to explain it in through this example. Regardless of where we find ourselves within these three groups, there has to be an appreciation that grace is touching you in whichever degree or capacity. You have to so clearly see that you did not ask for this teaching to come into your life. It has unfolded automatically. It has come to touch you automatically without you asking for it. It is reeling you in. And now, as you approach the teaching, as you start meditation, self inquiry, as you go on, start practicing these spiritual principles, you have an idea of what should come. You have an expectation of what you want from it. You have an idea of how this should go, how fast this should develop. But these are nothing other than your ideas and ultimately your limitations. Whereas you have to simply allow the process to unfold just as unwillingly this came into your life, just like that, without your control, it will take you deeper. You do not control in what capacity this unravels. You do not control the speed of this. These are all mental notions, mental concepts, which actually further obscure your understanding. So you see, that's really ultimately the process of surrender, right? You start to really deeply realize that you are so not in control of any of this. You are not in control of even your spiritual advancement. That something else is at the helm, and therefore you give up your ideas. You give up even your expectation of what you want from these practices that you're doing, and you simply do your best and allow the teaching to touch you in any way, in whatever capacity. You allow it to clear up some obstacles in your life, whereas others remain. You allow it to bring understanding in certain things, whereas some parts are still hazy. All you can really control in this is how devoted you are to the teaching. There's a deep intuition within you of yourself, of truth. And this path is helping you like turn within to that, turn away from all that is false towards that which is. So this reminds me of the teaching in the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna tells Arjun that you only have the right to your labor, but not to the fruits of your labor. It goes like that in all your material pursuits, but also your spiritual practice. You do whatever you need to do. Yearn for truth, yearn to realize yourself, devote yourself to the practice, to meditation, to practicing the principles, but relinquish your attachment to what comes of it. This will, at the core of you, release something, will free something up inside of you. It will free you from the seeker itself. And you may say, Sunny, but if you're saying that that's not a part of my control, then this itself wouldn't be my control. And yes, you're right. But the fact is, even though that you're being sort of reeled into this, pulled into this, at the level of personhood, you still do have control. It may be fake control, but it feels like I am the one doing the spiritual practice. So from your end, there has to be that willingness. You practice to the best of your capacity, you meditate, you do whatever you're being taught to do, and you give up all attachments to the fruit of that. You give up all expectation to how that must unfold, in what time frame it must unfold. You simply look at your entire experience as the unfolding, the unraveling of the personal self, the scattering away of the clouds. It is all leading to the same destination, the same goal, which is ultimately not somewhere you're going. Now, there was someone asking me, there's this meditation teacher who recently said that she was diagnosed with anxiety disorder, and she started to have to take medication for it. And this brought up questions and doubts in that person's mind, like, why, if she's practicing meditation, then why is she going through all of this? And what I did state clearly to that person is that yes, meditation and anxiety cannot coexist. Meditation, which is being as you are. I'm not even talking about meditation as just a practice that you're doing, sitting down, focusing on your breath or whatever. I'm talking about meditation in the purest sense, being as you are, free of all associations with what you appear to be, what you take yourself to be. In understanding of self prior to body, prior to mind, prior to self-image, anxiety cannot be. Anxiety can only ensue once we have taken on this personal identity. Once that, right, there's identification with the self-image, with it be the individual me, for whom there is anxiousness, for whom there is fear. So with that said, you can't look at someone else and be like, oh, but they've been practicing meditation for so long, so how could they have anxiety? You see, it doesn't work like that. And this will only hinder you, and this will only, right? Then you lose yourself to those doubts. You stay away, you go away from the practice. And now, of course, that's going to hinder you. To your idea of what it means, of grace, of what that means, and what this spiritual advancement should look like, that's just your idea of it. You may not think that the other person is being touched by grace. You may not think that, oh, they are advancing spiritually, or they are really understanding the teaching. But that is the uniqueness of this all. In the realm of experience in life, there is no absolute. Each one of our journeys is so unique. The challenges that we go through are so unique. So, although you may look at that person and through your own judgments and ideas about spirituality and meditation, you may think that that shouldn't be like they shouldn't be going through that. And if they're going through that, that means that, they're not really actually spiritual or touched by grace. But you see, those are just ideas. Matter of fact, maybe that person who had been meditating for many years and has now gone in this phase of anxiety disorder or whatever, perhaps this is grace itself. Perhaps that meditation, that person who's practicing meditation, she fell into that new phase to powerfully awaken her to shed away all that she was still identified with and limited inside of and bought into. You see, so the journey will flow in its ups and downs, and it may not be in alignment with your ideas about what it should be, especially when you look at other people's journeys. Yeah? You have many opinions and judgments, and then you base your own journey off of that. Don't go for this comparison. You will just fall into delusion. Be free of ideas about what you think grace is. Grace isn't just, oh, now I am understanding everything and my life is perfect and I'm just going to dissolve into nothingness. No. Even your hardships, your difficulties, your challenges, I would say, especially your hardships, your difficulties, and your challenges are grace. But you battle against grace itself. And that is why we remain stuck. Whereas these are all the masks of God, of life, of reality, of truth. And they are all aiding your journey back home. Now, with that, you may also have ideas of, when I start meditating, this will heal and I'll be free of this. And oh, my life will just be full of abundance and I will have all this wealth or all this well-being. And to a certain degree, right, that is true. As you are letting go of all that you are unconsciously bought into, you do start to see a greater sense of harmony, a sense of well being, and overall peacefulness in your experience. However, don't be attached to your ideas about what should happen and what should clear up and what should heal and what should come into your life as you start going deeper into meditations. Again, this is just your ideas. Whereas the many difficulties that remain, the things you still aren't able to be sort of free of, again, that is grace. That is your journey inward. So spirituality isn't about having a perfect life. There is no such thing as a perfect life. Spirituality, the spiritual path, is about being in the middle of limitation. The body itself is a huge limitation. Your idea of yourself as an individual person is itself the biggest limitation. So even if this person has a perfect little life, it's still limitation. So spiritual practice is about being in the midst of limitation while being free. So who are you that is not subject to this limitation, that is not bound inside of this limitation? That is what the spiritual practice is revealing within you. So free yourself of all of these ideas about what should heal if I naturally go into this, or what should happen if I go into this. Again, you're just coming at it from a desire for material gain. Be free of it. It will hinder you. So it really comes down to this. The teachings have come into your life, and to whatever degree you feel like you resonate with it, and if you resonate deeply, right, devote yourself to the teaching Of course, absolutely. Devote yourself. Be sincere about your search for self-knowledge, for truth, for yourself. But be absolutely at peace with what comes of it. Whatever the capacity of this unfoldment and how it's unfolding for you, be satisfied, be content, be happy. And that is the thing. So, regardless of if your definitions of success and spirituality are met or not, you will see that there is an overall sense of freedom, even if it's just a little bit, maybe just a taste from your emotions, from your suffering. There's a greater peace from your suffering to whatever degree, even if it's little. So regardless of how fast this unfolds for you, or regardless of if you're the wet coal or the gunpowder or whatever, you will, and some changes you won't even notice. Some changes are so subtle, some shifts in perception and they're so subtle that you do not even notice, but they have been unfolding, they have been happening, they are being experienced. And so be happy with however it unfolds, right? There's the one of the greatest teachings from Krishnamurti is I don't mind what happens. So don't mind how this goes for you. Just be willing, right? Have that attitude, because that attitude will free you of it. Work, do your do your practice, do your work, and be free from attachment to its fruits. This is real maturity that is developing. So I hope that this video helped you. Again, please always make sure to check the many free resources that I have available on this channel. I'll link them down below in the description box below. And if this is something that you want my personal help with, if you would like to go deeper into self-inquiry and dissolve mind identification, learn more about my School of Awakening as well, in which you will receive the proper guidance, the support, and really the framework that you need in order to keep your practice simple and consistent and be established in that attitude of absolute freedom and no longer being attached to the results of your spiritual practice. You will see that that is when you really become awake to the grace that is already in your life. And of course, then it seems to become more and more intense, right? But it has always been intense, but we have just been resisting it, fighting against it. If that sounds like something you're interested in and you resonate with, and if you do want my help, please learn more about my School of Awakening. You can book a call with me to see if that's the right fit for you. Okay? Thank you for watching this video. I will see you next time.